A little bit yesterday about like prospecting, like where do we find our leads, and I've heard you speak so many times on what you do. So would you mind sharing with us what you do to give us some ideas of how we might fill that pipeline up ourselves?
Well, Lynn, first of all, I appreciate you having me on the call today. It's good to talk to other teammates, on the East Coast, and you're doing so much good for the company. I hear you on conference calls, and I see you on the webinars. It's amazing, the people you're reaching. But as far as prospecting and recruiting, there's so many ways of doing it. There's people out there that sell leads that you can just buy on the internet, and you call those people, you put them in a auto caller or whatever it might be, and a lot of us want to know, well, how can we get leads without having to pay money to get them?
Right.
And so, what I've always done is, which I enjoy doing, is actually just going out and spending time, with people. I'll take a walk through town, and I'll walk through some of the shops, and I'll meet some of the shop owners, or just start conversations with some of the people that I meet in town. And what I'll do is I'll just strike up a conversation. And so many of us are, like you mentioned earlier, when we're waiting for the call to start, that we're afraid to even say a greeting on a conference call. And, it's even harder for a lot of people to pick up the phone call, the phone and make a phone call. Mm-hmm. So what I do is actually, that doesn't bother me. Over the years, I've done that many, many times. But I find it much more enjoyable just to go out to where the people are at.
Right.
They talk about elevator, speeches where you need to be able to get an elevator, and as you go between floors, be able to start a conversation and actually meet someone and, leave enough information with them that you can follow up.
Right.
But when you go to town, or you go to a trade show, or you go to Disneyland, or wherever it might be, they're talking about the lines at TSA at the airports, and they're talking about, the lines at Disneyland are shorter than the lines at TSA. You know what? Take that as an opportunity, to be able to get out there and spend time just meeting people. I mean, it doesn't take that long to actually break the ice and get to know someone, so we can start sharing either your product or your opportunity with them. But so many of us will, we try to do it the old way. When we do that, though, is you get in, get in that elevator, whatever it might be, in that line or in that shop or wherever it is, or meeting people, and we bring up the line, well, I like your tie, or I like your suit, or, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. You know what? Don't do that. It just, it doesn't work well. The best thing to do is just kind of talk about the day, talk about the surroundings. Like this weekend coming up, there's going to be a lot of people in my town. Port Townsend, a tourist town. It's a great time to go out there and just meet people, and from all over the world, actually. So go out there, just spend time belly to belly with people, get to know them, and it's what we call fishing for prospects. Mm-hmm. You're going to go out there, you're going to try different times, different places, and get to know people. And so one thing I recommend people do is that if they really want to meet some people, and they like, you mentioned earlier, Jim's got a cup of coffee. Well, I got my cup of coffee here. You can go to a coffee shop, and you can sit in that coffee shop, take an hour each day that you can go there for the next couple of weeks, and take your laptop or take, your book that you're doing your studying, and go and spend an hour each day at that coffee shop. And then you'll find that a lot of people will frequent a coffee shop at the same time of day, and they become almost like a little, almost like a social club, where they get to know each other. And so it's a perfect time to, once again, start a conversation. But remember, conversations are not about you. It's not about what you do. It's about them. Okay?
Okay.
You're hoping that you can get to the point in this short conversation, short time, is finding about what they do for a living, a little bit about what they do, what they like to do, maybe about their family. And then, eventually, through the conversation, they will ask you, well, what do you do? or where are you from, or wherever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. That's your time to be able to step in and say a short little sentence that will be like dangling bait out there. When you're fishing, you're putting bait out in front of the fish and hoping that they'll bite. So you dangle a little bit of bait out there, and you're hoping that they will grab that or want more. And so it's too many of us also, once again, will go out there and what we'll try to do is we will try to fire hose them. You've heard that term many times, fire hose people
Right.
with information.
Right.
We just want to give them enough to make them want more.
Well,
And I always, go ahead, I'm sorry.
excuse me, I just wanted to say I'm going to save you a little pain and agony because I know everybody's going to ask me. I don't know why we struggle with what to say. I don't know if it's that we hear one way, people say, have you heard of Congo water? And then other people say, no, you don't bring up the name or the label at all. So they're going to ask you, what is that fishing line that you throw out there? What is it?
Well, you want to think about this. When you talk to a realtor, what do you do? Why sell houses? No. A realtor doesn't just sell houses.
Right.
They help a person to find the best house with the biggest, or the best property, or whatever it might be. You want all the amenities to, for the customer. So, what we do is we teach people, whether you're talking about the business, you could say that I work in an international company, and I have a technology that's made in Japan, and I teach people how to make a lot of money with it.
Perfect.
So what's that take? 5 seconds.
Right.
Okay.
And it's intriguing.
And that's the bait. Okay. You're trying to get them. That's the lure to draw them in. You want it simple, something that just kind of comes off your tongue. Now, if you're talking about the product, you can say, I work with a company, international company, and you can say I work with an international beverage company. That's another one you could say. It sounds a little bit more important for some people, but I work in an international company. It's based out of Japan, and we have a technology that we place on the kitchen counter, and it transforms the water we drink. And I show people how to make a lot of money with it.
I love that. I love that. And then when they say, well, what is it?
Well, that's what it is. Once again, we're giving them a little, trying to draw them in. But what kind of water do you drink?
Mm-hmm.
And once again, we want to get it back to them. We don't want to focus on you.
Right.
I said, well, what kind of water do you drink? Do you drink bottled water? Do you drink tap water or well water? What kind of water do you drink? Once again, we ask questions and we listen. We don't ask questions and listen to what they're truly saying. We're doing nothing more than once again, fire hosing them with a bunch of information. It's like me walking up to you and trying to give you a brochure. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sell you something.
Right.
Okay? Same thing as you're talking to people. You want to give them information that make them want more. But the thing is, you want to get to know what their hot button is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking them, well, what kind of water do you drink? They tell you, well, I drink bottled water. Well, that's good. So you're looking for clean water. You're not satisfied with the tap water. You're concerned about the tap water. What do you like best about the bottled water you drink? What kind do you drink?
Perfect.
And once again, asking questions. They'll tell you a little more. So then you have to take it. You say, look, what I understand is that ASEA or Essentia or whatever water their fluids you're drinking. I have a guy right now that's trying to get me to try this ASEA water. And I've done the test on it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ASEA, the multi-level marketing company. But when I do the test on it, the water is very acidic, and it's a positive 720 ORP.
Oh my goodness.
Extremely oxidized. And you want me to drink this stuff? So, but maybe they say, well, I drink Essentia 9.5 alcohol. And so, now once again, do you know how they make it alcohol? Once again, just asking questions. And the idea is get to them to the point where they've heard enough from your responses that they want to try it themselves. Now, I've I've been on the phone with Bob Cordelli before, and I had him as a guest speaker on one of my conference calls. And, Bob hears this noise in the background. He's up and down the stairs at his house, his previous house, hauling water down to his door. Now, Bob, he probably doesn't have to go out and give out water anymore. He could probably just sit back and enjoy life.
Right.
And just, maintain. But Bobby does, so he goes out and he fills up his bottles of water. He puts it in his trunk, because every day when he goes out someplace, he's hoping that he will find someone that he can give water to in his business card. And so, and once again, your business card that you give to someone should also not just say, Jim Gilliland, Magic Independent Distributor. And, because you know what, that tells them, that to me speaks multi-level marketing.
Right.
And that is, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with multi-level marketing. I did it for many, many years. Mm-hmm. Great industry, and actually our UConn is kind of a MLM type.
Right.
That's within our business. But the mine says Jim Gillen, owner or CEO, name my company, because I want them to look at that card and say, well, this guy must know what he's doing because he's the owner of his own company.
Right.
So once again, you're just whetting their appetite, asking questions, getting more information, finding out what their hot buttons are, and then just doing the follow-up from there.
Well,
but there's a lot of places to find those leads. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Elaine.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, there's a lot of places to find people to talk to. And like I said, you can buy leads. That gets expensive, and if you don't know, you're afraid to use the phone or don't know quite what to say to people, have a script or something, you're just throwing money away. Mm-hmm. But if you will do is go out to where people are at. And I want you to think about this weekend. You got a holiday weekend. I don't really, it's Memorial weekend, and I'll take Monday and do some family stuff. But usually on holidays, I'm still focused on what I do, mm-hmm. my business, and other things. But I'll go out and I'll look for different places that might have activities going on. Now, I tell people, you can be at a trade show or you can attend a trade show. Either way, you're there and you can meet many, many prospects. Right. We have lots of fairs going on right now. We have home shows. We have boat shows coming up in the boating season now. RV shows. We have health and wellness fairs. Mm-hmm. I know one of my distributors just a wellness fair last weekend, and extremely busy show. We have other things going on, as far as, different fairs. I mean, you name it. Right. In our neck of the woods, we have one coming up that I was just asked to be part of yesterday. It's called the Hemp Fest. Mm-hmm. I'm not a marijuana person, and as a matter of fact, being a retired CHP officer, I was kind of you don't know who I am, this is like rubbing me wrong. Yeah. But the thing is, I was asked to have our water systems there for that supply of water. So there's a lot of different ways of going out there and putting booths in shows, but once again, that can be expensive. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we attend shows, and that's what I enjoy the most, because you can go, a show will last 2 or 3 days to, like our queue out there, 21 days. That's a long time to be stuck in a building. Right. That's away from, even though you're doing business, you're away from your business. So what I do is I walk around that fair and I talk to the vendors. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, I'll take a little, kind of like a knapsack, backpack type thing, things on my shoulder, and I'll put product information there as far as like the newspapers, mm-hmm. Happy Living News. And if I see someone just sitting around doing nothing, I'll give, hey, here's something to read, while you're sitting there. In fact, what I'll do before on a trade show, if it's a 3-day show, mm-hmm. on the second night, or then the first night for the second day, I will walk around and I'll put a Happy Living News in every single booth. Oh, wow. Because when the vendors come in, they're sitting there during the day, and they'll have times that flow, unfortunately, mm-hmm. and it gives them stuff to read. So I'll do that. I'll go, it gives them sometime the next day or two, they're going to read that newspaper. Right. And so, then, or if I'll be walking around, I'll see a guy that, like, this is the guy I want in my business. I'll wait till he's got a break in the traffic, and I'll go ahead and I'll talk to him. I say, you know what, I really like the way you handle your people, or I really like the way you present yourself. I'm looking for people just like you in our business. Or do you know of anybody that got your same attitude that might be interested in earning extra income? Once again, so you're doing is you're basically fishing for prospects. I was driving through In-N-Out. I was down in Torrance last week, down to headquarters, and I left the headquarters, and I had most of the day, so I drove to an In-N-Out restaurant, and the guy that was out in the parking lot taking the orders, because the line is quite long, he came up, and this guy's got a super attitude. And I thought, man, this is the kind of guy I'd like to have in my business. Yeah, he's out there taking orders in a parking lot, but the thing is, he's working a job. Right. He's willing to go and do whatever it takes to pay the bills. And so I went through got my food, drove around the building, parked my car, and got a business card, and went out. And I said, you know what? I love your attitude. I like the way you handle people. I work with a company that's an international company, and we're looking for people just like you. Here's my card. Call me if you're interested.
I love
How long does it take? 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all it takes.
I love it. It's interesting because, again, I've never been in this industry before, but every time I look at the whole comp plan, I realize how brilliant it is. And we all, hope that we'll one day snag a roamie. I mean, wouldn't it be great to hit the jackpot? But the bottom line is we need to master exactly what you're saying, because it never stops. You're out there. You're still working it the way new people are trying to work it. Cynthia, we were talking about her yesterday. Tamia, Bob Gridelli, hauling water. It never stops. But I think the danger is looking for that jackpot. We can never slow down. We always have to be looking for the next person. We always have to be continually building our own business, not just trying to get to a point where everybody can build it for us, because I don't think we'll have a business. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I spent some time with Cynthia Brigante here was about a week and a half ago. She did a conference call for us. Actually, she did a webinar for us. And, I've known Cynthia for 20 years now. And I knew her when she could barely speak English. She still struggles with,
right.
pronunciation. But the thing is, Romy and Cynthia are no different than you and I.
Right.
When I came in this business, I saw a Romy DVD that he made at home. And I looked at that DVD and said, if Romy can do this, I can do this.
Right.
When I looked at Bob, I actually went to a meeting down. It was one of those little meetings they're having at the headquarters down in Torrance. And that was like 8 years ago. And Bob Gridelli walked in the room, and this guy, I looked at him and I said, if this guy can do this business, I can do this business.
Right.
There's nothing to keep any of us from doing this business.
No.
I mean, what it comes down to is, I hate to say a numbers game, but it's a matter of sorting through people until you find a Bob Gridelli.
Right.
Or a Cynthia Briante, or Lynn Gardner. It's just a matter of going through and talking to people. Now, you're part of my team through Pat and through, Shan. Shan just happened to be someone I knew from another company that, at the time, I could say he fell in hard times for the guy because the company that we were with went into foreclosure. And so it just so happened to be that, again, Shan reached out to me during that time, and I asked questions, and I gave him some information on the product, and it went from there. So one thing Cynthia does, though, and Romy does the same thing, is they work their business on purpose, okay? They're on purpose every day. Cynthia talks about she gets up in the morning and she prays for her business. Romy does the same thing. If you look at the think to them, what do? They wake up in the morning and they pray for their business. They pray for the people in their business.
Right.
And they ask God for direction and guidance throughout the day. So, two of the most successful people in the business.
Yes.
What are they doing? They're starting their day off that way. I mean, and as they start their day off that way, and they ask God for direction and discernment, and someone comes in their path, or you get a name in their head, don't you think it's wise that we should write that name down?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, or maybe follow up. In fact, I got this morning, I started my day off praying too, and then I got up, took a shower, and in the shower, a name came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I got to get out and write this thing down, because if I don't, I'm the type to get out of life. It's like, I'll forget what I was doing 2 minutes ago sometimes,
Right.
A lot of, like I just like lost, what I did like that pop, And so, when God gives you a name, write it down. That's why you want to carry around a little tiny book, book with, spiral book or something in your pocket.
Right.
That you can write names down. That's your $1 million book.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to get a name sometime, and you're going to forget it, and you're going to meet some same person in a meeting, and wish that you'd written that name down.
Exactly.
And so, but Romy and Cynthia, they work their businesses if it's a job. In other words, Cynthia gets up, she does it, she prays, she eats breakfast, and then from 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she spends that time working her business. She gets on the phone and makes phone calls. She doesn't call the same person every day. She doesn't call the distributors that she just, is good friends with, she likes to visit with. No, she works the business.
Mm-hmm.
And too many of us consider working the business by getting up and looking at our emails at our Facebook, or sitting in front of a computer and doing nothing all day long.
Right.
I mean, what we need to do is go out and do the business where the business needs to be done, out to where people are at. It's the people business. We want to do is we want to go out there and spend time with people where they're at. I mean, join the Chamber of Commerce, join the Elks, the Rotary, get involved in your church. If there's a potluck, take Conga water. Yesterday I went to a chamber event at the end of the day, which the Chamber of Commerce happens to be right next door to my store as a visitor center, so they're having a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new business in town. So, I got to go over there and meet a couple people, hand out a couple cards.
Right. I think you're so right. And I think that's what I was trying to say, not so eloquently as you did, but it's, when you see the really successful people, they've never stopped. It's not like they get to a point and say, oh, cool, I found a live wire, so now I'm on Easy Street. They keep going. And that is the design, really, of our comp plan to motivate us to keep going, that we don't sit back idle. I know that, when we really get this, it's often said, when you get the business from your head to your heart, everything changes, And I remember Romy being here for a Super Saturday, and he was talking about how he was just now gearing back up his business, where he'd gotten comfortable. And then he realized that, because he would say to himself, how much is enough money? But then he said, how many more lives can we change? They like to plant churches. And he said, well, who am I to stop when God blesses me with the ability to do this? And so they're right back in the saddle, probably working as hard as ever. The same was true with Tamia. She got comfortable. And then she said, it's not about me. How many more lives can I change if I keep going? And so I think that's so important. We hear people, we've tried to talk about, we've never done it, but we've talked about, getting a 90-day blitz going. I don't even know what one looks like, but we talk about it just to kind of rev up a little bit, and yet I hear people hear from you, and I heard Omar not too long ago, he did a blitz, I guess it was actually after the last global, when he was challenged, and somebody said, Omar, man, you're not meeting your potential. And he went back in gear, and he was #1 sales the whole company the next month. So it's always striving to, to be more, to be all that we can be, I guess, is what I'm saying. But you did mention, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, the fact that you talked about a 90-day blitz. And for you, what does that look like? I mean, is that a specific, do you put a number to the number of sales you'd like to have, or recruits you'd like to have, or do you just put a number to your effort? I'll make this many phone calls, this many new people Do you mind sharing that today?
No, not at all. A 90-day blitz is an all-out massive action that you have to plan for.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say plan, don't procrastinate and wait forever to do it. Because when you start a 90-day blitz, that is, you're going to do is you're going to dedicate your time for 90 days. Now, you may choose to take Sunday off. That's what I do. When I do a 90-day blitz, I'll take the Sunday off. But a 90-day blitz is from the time your feet hit the floor in the morning till you go to bed at night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for 90 days. That you're working the business. You are, and I say working the business, once again, you're not sitting at your desk making sure the paper clips don't touch the rubber band. That's going out every day and working the business. Now, you have to figure out, okay, what are the income-producing activities I need to do to make this 90 days, we're talking 3 months, the most beneficial and the most lucrative months. And when you do a 90-day blitz, when I've done it in the past, many times I've done it, and I need to do it more often because every time I've done it, my income has increased. And it's not just for that period of time, but my business has grown.
Right.
I remember when I started doing these back, 20 years ago, actually about 21, 22 years ago, I was with a company and they had a top level, I knew I had to, do a blitz and, to get to that top level and then to earn my luxury car. And so I did that, and I hit the top level, and I got my luxury car, and I quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that started momentum, which catapulted me into my career at that company. With this company here, 90-day blitz, we have tools that don't cost a lot of money.
Right.
What's the best thing we can give someone?
Water.
Besides our time?
Time.
It's water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
time
water.
is the most valuable thing we have. Yeah.
Right. Too many of us, and don't get me wrong on this, because I don't want people to stop doing water presentations, but too many of us think that we have to do a water demo for people all the time. The water, I like to tell you, the water's not a problem. The water works every time. We do water demos, and we don't do water demos with business opportunity means in the corporate income.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've had distributors will say to me, I come to do a demo, that I tell them I want to talk about the business. Well, no, I just want you to talk about the water. We have people coming to hear about the water, sick people. You know what? Most sick people also have sick finances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? They have middle of work, whatever it might be, so they need the money too. They need the money to pay the bills. They've been sick. And so what you want to do is you want to go ahead and try to do is always incorporate part of the business plan in your presentation. But you look at, I think her name is Edna, Grandma Edna, down,
Yes.
I think she's a Catholic.
Yes.
She makes multiple six-figure income, and what does she do? She gives people water and a DVD, sits down, pushes play.
Yes. Yeah, I heard her one time on a call, and she said, I never want to learn how to do a demo. I don't need to.
Well, his demos used to be the thing, just the pH drops.
Right.
And, the thing is, he didn't own an ORP meter for years. In fact, I think he still says, that his wife's got one, but he doesn't have one. Mm-hmm. And Cynthia doesn't go out and do demos. No. She does, and she shares the opportunity with people. She might give them a DVD or a business card, but she's not out there doing as much demos. And I said, don't get me wrong. I still do water demos. I did, I had one last night scheduled at the store. I did one the night before in Seattle, so I still do those for larger groups. Bernard Chan. Spent a lot of time with Bernard Chan, and Bernard is one of the top earners in Asia. And I said, so Bernard, how many demos you do? He looked at me and said, Jim, he says, I don't do demos. He says, I do them from time to time for large meetings, but he doesn't do demos. What he does is he shares the information with people, the DVD. He shares the DVD, the Bob Ridley Pat Boone, or the Bob Ridley with the Elvis Stoico, and he talks to them about the lifestyle of the business. Okay, so now, when you do your 90-day blitz, what are you going to be focused on? You're going to be focused on selling machines. You're going to be focused on building your business. Or you can actually do both. You can split it up. But what you're going to do is you're going to get up in the morning. You're going to have certain tools with you. You're going to have CDs and DVDs. And I suggest you get 10 CDs. Fred's got some new ones that we just put together. It's an audio CD, and it's a really well done CD. You might do little changes to it here coming up, but it's really well done. So you get 10 or 20 CDs. They're cheap.
Right.
You get 10 or 20 Elvis Stoico or Bob Gardella, Pat Boone DVDs. Get some healthy living newspapers,
Right.
okay, or some other tool that you like. These are the ones I use, okay? And you want some business cards. Then you want two different types of business cards if you can afford to get them. You get one that focuses on the product and one that focuses on the business. So when you're talking to someone about the business, you don't want to give them a product card. You want to give them your business card. My business card talks about the business. It's got my picture on it, and it has it's got my .biz website, and it looks very professional. I had a gal named Jody Holmes make those up, and Jody does a great job on this type of business cards. There's other places to do it. There's also you have one that talks about the product. So you go out during the day, you're going to spend 8 hours or 5 hours or 2 hours, whatever your lifestyle allows you to do. If you're working an 8-hour day job and you're doing a 90-day blitz, you say, okay, I get done. I'm going to talk to people during my lunch break. And what I'm also going to do is 3 to 4 hours after I get off work. You set the hours that you're going to do during your 90-day blitz. Just because the 90 blitz doesn't have to be a 12 or 16-hour day. It can be a extra 2 hours, but every day you're going to do 2 hours. You're going to focus on income-producing activity. So you're going to be making phone calls and hand out CDs. Once you hand out someone a DVD or CD, you're going to ask to get it back within 24 to 48 hours. You give them a CD, a gallon of water. If you're talking to them about the water.
Right.
If it's a business opportunity, you give them your business card, and you schedule to get them on one of the conference calls with 11:55 or 5:55. Conference calls they have throughout the day. Okay, or you can do a 3-way call with them. But the idea is to work the numbers, keep rotating them through, work the numbers, and then you're going to find a Bob Gardella. You're going to find a Pat Boone.
Right.
Pat Boone, yeah. Pat Boone, yeah. Find the actor. You might find one of those too.
Right, yeah.
But Bob Gardella, okay. So Bob Gardella or Cynthia Brigante, or the thing is, you're going to be out there in front of people. Now, I like to incorporate a couple little trade shows, throughout the month. A couple little spots where I'm giving out water. I mean, I have one book every month for months to come. I used to do a little display in the co-op in Port Townsend one day a month. Okay, I got there when the store opened. I set up a little table, and with a crock with a 5-gallon bottle of water on it, newspapers, my business cards, and I'd take my machine in before I brought my karaoke, which is a dummy machine.
Right.
I would take that in and sit on the table. And I would do that morning until evening, 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening, 12 hours. And I'll tell you what, 5 of my 6 days came from that display.
Oh, my goodness.
5.
Wow.
And the thing is, now several of those 6 days have gone on there, one of them's got several 6 days in a team, and so it's the simple things. But the thing is, you being consistent, okay? So I do that every month. Even during my blitz, I would do one day a month. The idea is to get in front of as many people as possible. I've done things as simple as, Cynthia Brigante has done this, and I thought, if Cynthia can do it, I can do it. Door to door. I took newspapers, put them in those plastic door hanger bags, and I went door to door and hung them on doors in these 65 and older communities.
Ooh.
It was actually, and I did that. It took me, I did 60-some homes in like 25 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And before I got home, I got a phone call. I got home at 28 miles from the house. I live in the middle of nowhere. So I got a phone call. That night, I got another phone call. That person bought 3 machines.
Wow.
Okay? So bought one the first time, was the next day when I went to visit her, and then bought 2 more after that. So was it worth the $10 in fuel and $4 or $5 in marketing materials I had? And yeah, it was worth it.
Absolutely.
And so doing simple things consistently for 90 days and then following up. If you don't follow up, you foul up. You've got to follow up.
Oh my goodness, that's the death, isn't it? I mean, they say fortune's in the follow-up, and we drop the ball. We make contact and we don't follow up. It's like fruitless. And I often say I was so blessed in my first career. I was mentored by someone, and he taught me, I did what I call dial for dollars. I'm on the phone, and he taught me, do not ever close out your day until you have your day planned out the next day. And I think sometimes we might say, oh, well, I'm going to do, for instance, I'm going to do the blitz and I'm going to talk to 200 people, but we don't ever plan out the day so that he used to say, when your rear end hits the chair at your desk, you pick the phone up and you already know what you're supposed to do. And I think sometimes, when we work for ourselves, maybe it's new for some people or whatever, there's nobody, they're used to having someone tell them what they need to do. That's so vitally important before you end the day, no matter what time it is. Know what you're going to do when you get up. Otherwise, you're sitting around in your pajamas talking about how you're not making any money. And so it's so important, I think, whether you're doing a blitz or not, what are we going to do today? And, we went through a season of me pushing people to do a vision board, and for me, it's like, I know where I'm going, and I look at that board, and mine is 110% my family, and I'll look at it and say, oh my gosh, what have I done for my family today? Because that's my why. But if we don't list it out, and even this guy taught me, it wasn't like, you write down, well, pick up the business directory and call 20 people. No, he made me write down, who am I calling? What's their name and who am I calling the first thing in the morning? So if you guys don't do that, I would highly recommend it, that you plan your day the day before so you hit the ground running, you know what you're supposed to do. And I'm going to give it back to Jim, but we're going to take just a couple questions and let Jim go about his morning. So if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. We'll take a couple of them. So Jim, did you have a word or two before I get them to ask a few questions?
Yeah, just a real quick thing. Mm-hmm. We have a new distributor on our team, and he's actually under count. And his name is Batch Wynn. Batch came to the United States when he was 14 years old with his family, 10 people in his family, and they came with their suitcases in hand and $150. Wow. When he got here, he knew about the American dream, and he wanted to live that dream. So he went out, and he started, he went to school, and then he started learning about real estate. Batch is, he went out and he spent every day, 4 hours every day, going door to door, putting flyers on doors. Wow. Okay, he did that for 4 hours a day for 4 years.
Wow.
Then he would do is he would also follow up, and they learned about the follow up, and then so he advanced from that to making phone calls 4 hours. He teaches his team 8 in the morning until 12 noon. In those 4 hours, you're calling prospects. Mm-hmm. Okay. You don't start your day until you've done those 4 hours. That's what he still does today. Dax is a mega millionaire in the real estate industry. And I've been to his house several times. We call the FD51 under the counter. He's got, you look at his car, he's got brand new Ferraris and Bentleys. Matter of fact, he contacted me the day before yesterday and says, what should I buy? And showed me some different pictures. And he's got a Rolls Royce. He says, should I get the Rolls Royce with the top or the hard top? Now, this guy did whatever it took, okay, to build his business. He said, said, I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can have what others don't. He lives like a king, but he's humble, okay?
Right.
And he saw the magic opportunity, and he's going with it. In fact, Pat, hopefully you're still on the phone, but Pat called me 2 days ago with another Vietnamese gentleman, realtor, and we got 2 more orders coming in.
Wow.
And so, it's just a matter of, someone who needs someone who needs someone.
Right.
Okay, so you've got to keep talking to people, keep sharing the business opportunity, keep sharing the water, but just remember, learn to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions and listen.
Right.
If I hadn't asked questions of that to begin with and listened to what he was looking for, we would never have him in the business today.
Right.
No.
Well,
Go ahead now.
Well, that's a great example because, two comments on it, and that is that, people would meet someone like this man and say, oh boy, is he lucky? But he's not lucky. He put in the work. To me, is not lucky. Romy's not lucky. Jim's not lucky. Everybody's putting in the work, and you'll have the fruit of your labor, if you put in the work. And the other side of that is don't judge anybody. I mean, I so often will hear, oh, these people have money, or these people don't have money, or this guy's already got a lot of money, so he wouldn't want to talk to us. You can't think for somebody else. Business people, especially very successful business people, are always looking for different streams. You never know what you might have if we don't quit trying to judge that ourselves and say and we determine why they won't be interested in what we have. I mean, that's just so silly. So guys, it's time to raise your hands up if you have any questions. I don't want to keep Jim all day. I could, and I would if he'd let me, but I want to be a respecter of his time. Does anybody have a question or comment? Just raise your hand. I'll unmute you and let you say something here. I see Mike's the early bird. Hold on one second, Mike. I'm unmuting you here. Okay, you should be unmuted, Mike. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Lynn. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing all those points with us. One thing I wanted you to kind of follow up with a little bit on is, you talked about personal connections with people initially and how important that is, which is huge. But I think where a lot of people make a mistake is once they make that connection, they try to follow up, or if they do try to follow up at all, they use things like text messaging and emailing. And my belief is once you establish that personal connection, you need to stay connected, either through personal contact or at least by phone. So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%. We become, in this world, we've become a high-tech, low-touch, type company or people group. So what we need to do is focus on making sure we're still high-touch and high-tech, because so many of us will send an email or a text to thank someone instead of sending a personally written out card or making a phone call, because you know what? It's the touching. It's the personal, the personal touch that gets people to say, hey, they care more about me than they do making a buck. A text message is a great way to remind someone of an upcoming meeting, but not to invite someone to a meeting. People look at their text messages faster than they'll answer the phone or look at their email. So it's great for reminding people. Hey, just a reminder of your appointment coming up, a reminder you're having a gather. That I text you to remind you. But as far as complimenting people, thanking people, write a note. If you're not good at writing, find someone that can. But a phone call is also phenomenal. So just once again, I think that we need to do is stay high tech, but we also still need to stay high touch.
I think we do. If I could interject something there,
Thanks,
I've shared with the team. I've had this card service. We all know people in real estate, understand that probably better than most, where you can keep touching people because one day they're going to sell their property again, and you hope they remember you. And so I have this card service that um, it's automated, and it can actually, I can type in a message from me, but you can thread your own handwriting, so it looks like it's handwritten from me. And when they get that card, for instance, when somebody buys one of our devices, for instance, let's say it's a Platinum, then I make a photo card. And again, it's all done online, and it's a picture of the Platinum. It says, congratulations, it's the best decision you've ever made, or whatever. And it means the world to them that they think I sat down and hand wrote a note to them. It still means the world to people when they have that personal touch. I agree 110%. I mean, technology's got a place, and God knows I use it every day, but when it comes down to it, I would want you to pick up the phone and call me. If it's important to you, I would want you to make that phone call. So anybody else out there that wants to raise their hand? And Mike, forgive me, hold on a second. I muted you back out before I asked if that was it for you, Mike. Was that it?
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and thanks, Lynn.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I see Pat Cassidy. I'm going to unmute you here. 1 minute, my friend. There you go. You should be unmuted now, Pat.
Good morning, Jim, and thanks an awful lot for the tremendous input that you had this morning. And you're exactly right about the type of business that we're in. We're in the people business, and it is about connecting with people. And unless we can find some way to really help people get to where they want to go, we can never get to where we want to go. And so it's never about us. It's always about the other person. And Mike and I, we really do have this pet peeve about people texting to try to develop a relationship. We know texting is important for a lot of reminders and things like that, but we have, there's a lot of misconceptions about that being an effective form of communication. And so I'm really glad that you touched on that. The other thing that I really got tickled about was that you mentioned everybody needs a spiral notebook. So I've been carrying one around for years. I do get pushback on it because I know we have so much high tech that we can use to keep track of what we're doing. But there's nothing like a spiral notebook that you look at every morning. You got a few names written down, and I tell new people, write down some names in a spiral notebook, make some notes, and then call up some people in the group that you click with that are somewhat successful and talk about some strategies about who this person is and how we can help them, come into our business and be successful. So I enjoy all of the ideas and everything that you bring, and I just want to thank you again for taking your time this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to have you on the team.
Thank you, Pat. And we have now David. David, forgive me if I butcher your last name, David Dasso. Hold on 1 second, and I will have you unmuted, my friend. And if you have a question for our superstar, you should be unmuted now. Are you with us? He raised his hand, but it looks like you're muted on your end from my screen. I don't think we can hear you, David, so I'm sorry about that. Anybody else have a question before we let this guy go for the day, Jim? There aren't words to express how grateful we are for you, and we're always grateful for you, even though when you don't hear from us, and we're not just grateful for you for when you do something nice like you're doing today. We really are grateful for your leadership and all that you do. I watch a lot of what's going on the West Coast, a lot of things that you do online, and I'm just so honored and privileged to be part of your team. And so we all, on behalf of the whole team, everybody on the call today, we just want to thank you for your time. And again, that early morning, I hope you got enough Kangen water and coffee to still love us and then put up with us moving forward. But I guess, we'll see you at the Global. I can't wait. Last time it was pretty crazy for everybody. We really didn't get a chance to visit, but I hope to spend a little bit more time this year. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing you. And thank you again for everything you do for all of us.
Well, thank you. And we're looking forward to Global also. We got ourselves a King Suite. So we going to do is have a little celebration party at our place too.
Oh, that's awesome. Looking forward to it. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for again, everybody that's on the line. This is a recorded call, so I will decode it and upload it pretty soon. And so, if you get a chance to share it with your team or whatever, it's always a blessing to hear from Jim Gilliland. So thank you again, my friend. God bless you and your family, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.